In this week's chapter of One Piece, we find out about what? One Piece! Holy shit, you don't hear that often in this series. Usually it's Luffy going off to some island, but we are actually getting back to the main reason this series exists. The island of Raftel and One Piece. So Corey, what did you think of all the revelations here? Not that much information, but so important. You go 400 chapters in a row before you get any of this information.
Exactly. This chapter kind of reminded me of the Dragon Balls in Dragon Ball, where they're the focus of the series, they're the namesake of the series, but rarely do they ever get brought up. This is a really big freaking deal. It's been so long since we've learned about One Piece, getting clues to what it actually is, how we can find it, and in this week's chapter, not only do we get to learn how that the pirates can actually find this island, but we get to learn about the history of these Poneglyphs as well. Apparently, there was this stone mason who was a part of the Wano Kingdom, that's the one where Kinemon and Kanjuro are from, and they created the Poneglyphs, which were made out of these giant marble slabs. They put all of these secrets all over them. However, these secrets were so powerful that a lot of people were after them, and a lot of them have actually been stolen. And this eventually led to the death of Odin, the father of Momonosuke. And we get a huge bombshell in this chapter that apparently it was Kaido himself who executed Odin. And it may be a mistranslation, it may not. They say that it was a shogun who actually did this, and they imply that Kaido himself is actually from the Wano Kingdom. And that makes a lot of sense when you look at the character. Not just his name, but the fact that he has those dragon, Yakuza-looking tattoos all over his body. He looks like someone who could actually be from the Wano Kingdom. That and the fact that he's completely disproportionate, and everybody from that kingdom just happens to look like a weird caricature of a samurai-type character, so that does make sense. But of course, the biggest thing about this chapter is getting to learn about these 4 Poneglyphs, which are going to lead the Strawhat Pirates to the location of the island of Raftel. And they've already found one of them. It's right there on the island of Zou, the Red Poneglyph. However, there are still 3 more to find. One of them is a complete mystery. The other 2 just so happen to belong to some incredibly strong pirates, and luckily they happen to be on the resume list for the Straw Hat Pirates of where they're heading. We have Big Mom, and we also have freaking Kaido himself. Yes, that is right. It looks like everything is just going to be wrapping up nice in a little package with this arc, and I think that's really freaking awesome. Now, the thing is, what you need to do is you need to go to all these Poneglyphs, and they're going to give you this special information which will allow you to basically find the exact location of Raftel, which they displayed it in this chapter like it's a big X. Everything points into this one direction, to this one island.
Thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it looks like the island is actually going to be rising up out of the ocean. Like, there might be a secret to actually activating, like seeing this island for the first time. And this is how they're actually going to find One Piece. It makes sense, too, that Kaido and Big Mom would want to have this sort of information. And this is probably why they were even after Raizo in the first place. They wanted to learn a little bit more about the secrets of where this Poneglyph could be. And it makes sense because Raizo was actually in the whale tree, he was locked up, and he was right next to the Poneglyph. And he is someone who would have information like this. The other reason that this is so important is because it is heavily implied by Kinemon at the very end of this chapter that Odin himself was a friend of Gold Roger, or maybe even one of his crewmates, which I think would be pretty freaking awesome. And it also just ties everything together just a little bit more with the whole history of Roger and One Piece and the Poneglyphs. Everything is finally starting to add up just a little bit.
Yeah, so some of the things I really like is how often do you see a poneglyph, not necessarily a poneglyph, but some sort of old world history, and Robin just goes to the side and just does something, talks to some other person that was kind of important, but the crew never really gets involved. So for them to have a chapter that's central, I call these the storytelling ones. You know, everyone gathers in a circle and someone tells a story, we get some flashbacks, and to have the whole crew sort of around that, I think is a really important moment. Like, this is going to be the beginning of when the crew got truly pointed towards One Piece in a real way. Are they always working towards getting One Piece? Yes. I'm not saying that they're now actually focusing on that. But now we have them going to rescue Sanji, and Big Mom happens to have one. And now they have pissed off Kaido, who happens to have one. You know, the Poneglyphs, I'm saying. So it's interesting that the story is actually pointing them in that direction. And after how many chapters deep are we in this series? 800?
We're in like the 700s at this
700s, you know, I think it's about time that they kind of at least work towards that. So I'm excited to see that. I have to note the time that Luffy was saying, oh, we'll just steal them. And then they're like, nah, you could just put like a piece of paper up and rub a pencil and like, get the, and Luffy's face when he's like, I wanted to steal him. I thought that was just hilarious.
Luffy would be upset about something like that. Like, he just wants to steal these giant, like, marble slabs, which is just, just stealing one of those has got to be a pain. But it does make sense that you can just sort of copy that information down, and thank God the Straw Hat crew just happens to have Nico Robin on the crew, which I loved that moment when Nekomamashi was, like, talking to Nico Robin and explaining, like, why she's so important, and how you do realize that when you start to get involved with this stuff, a lot of powerful and invincible people are going to come after you. And Nico Robin isn't fazed by any of this. She puts on a big smile and mentions that her crew is going to protect her no matter what. And everybody puts up like this big, tough front, which I think is really funny. Even Nami, who threatens to not only kick your ass, but to steal all of your money as well. So there's definitely a little bit of humor sprinkled in this chapter as well. Not to mention just a lot of gasps from the Straw Hat Pirates when they learn all of this crazy information this week. Not just about Raftel, but just the fact that Odin might have been a member of Goldie Roger's crew. That is a freaking big deal to me, and I can only imagine we're probably going to get a flashback eventually, maybe detailing those events. Maybe we've even seen the character before. There have been a few manga panels that people have been bringing up trying to say, is this actually Odin right here? This guy with this long coat and this hat? It looks similar. There's a lot of evidence to this character possibly appearing in previous manga chapters, and it's going to be really fun to do a little research and try and see if we can actually find this guy. That being said, this was a chapter of One Piece that you must not miss. It is incredibly important. It has some crucial information to it.
Pivotal point, for sure, of the series. Absolutely. Yeah, and I just think that, like you're saying, Corey, this is going to be a moment that we all look back on, where the Straw Hats got pointed in the right directions to actually find One Piece in a tangible way. So, very excited to see where this goes. Also, I'm excited for them to get off this island as well and work their way towards getting Sanji. I think we are... Within 2 chapters, they could be on their way.
Which is surprising. I thought we were going to spending a lot more time on the island of Zo. I thought this whole arc would encompass being on top of this elephant's back, which, as large as it is also kind of small, because everything is sort of centralized into, like, one area. Like, obviously, no one's living on the underside of the elephant. That just really wouldn't make that much sense unless there's something else down there that we don't know about. But it looks like they finally are going to be going back on their mission. They might be going to get Sanji. Maybe the Straw Hat crew is going to divide itself. Maybe one group's going to go this way. Maybe one group is going to go the other way. I'm not sure what they're going to do with this. All I know is it's a really exciting time. And let's get theoretical for a moment. There are 3 known poneglyphs.
Yes.
Where do you think the 4th one could possibly be located? My guess is that it probably belongs to the world government in some form or fashion, or like the celestial dragons of Marijoy, something that Doflamingo might have even brought up a couple of chapters ago. They still know a pretty big secret that we don't know about quite yet, and that could be them actually having the
they know the that's true, but they also know the lost history of the world. Which let's speculate on that. What do you think the lost history of the world is? Do you think it's just the world government pulling off some mass killing or something like that, or some...
It could be something as simple as that. It could be the fucking resurrection of the Ten Tails. I don't know. I don't think the author knows yet. I think he has an idea. I like to think that Oda has kind of a plan for the ending of the series, but he is kind of making up some of this stuff as he goes. This is why one of these poneglyphs is a complete and total mystery, because maybe he doesn't know yet. Maybe he hasn't decided on how that's going to happen.
Maybe they're just going to run into some jolly old person. He's going to be like, oh yeah, that thing, I had that back here. And, the Straw Hats are going to win that random person over with friendship, and that's going to be how they find the next one. Or like you said, the world government, they have to get in a huge fight with them. That's also coming. Eventually, Luffy's going to storm in one of those castles and kick all those guys' asses too. That's going to happen. I'm just excited to see how it plays out. You just don't get a chapter like this very often, so it was like, holy shit, everyone's talking about One Piece? How long ago was that?
It's a big deal. Like, I honestly can't remember the last time it was brought up. The most significant moment I remember was, like, way back before the time skip, when I think Rayleigh was talking about it, and Rayleigh knows, like, what One Piece is. Like, he's aware of what this thing is, and he was about to, like, tell everybody, but then Luffy's like, no, don't tell me. That's going to ruin the entire adventure and mystery behind this entire One Piece thing. So, it's just, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. I think this is easily a 5 out of 5. It's a very important chapter. I loved reading it. It makes me excited for next week So what do you think?
I'm also going to give it a 5 out of 5. This is a bombshell of a chapter. A lot of really important information in there. I'm still slightly disappointed by Raizo and his overall goofy Wario-esque appearance, but I'm still really excited by all of the big things that were revealed in this chapter. Just a lot of information to take in, especially about the Wano Kingdom, Kaido being possibly from that kingdom as well. Kaido's one bad motherfucker. I cannot wait to see more from that character. So yeah, 5 out of 5 chapter. One Piece fans, definitely check this one out. But if you did read this week's chapter, make sure to tell us what you thought about it in the comment section below. Do you have any theories as to where this fourth mysterious poneglyph could be? What do you think is the mysterious, truth of the One Piece world which has been erased by the world government? And what do you want to see from the rest of this Zou arc and beyond?
So you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Also, if you want to help out the channel, use our Amazon link. If you buy anything on Amazon through that link, it helps us out. Or if you just want to donate, use the PayPal link below in the description box. Again, thank you guys for watching. And until next time, Super Kami Guru 9000 is out.
So why exactly don't you like the name of the poneglyph? Why don't you like that it's called a poneglyph?
It sounds like brony porn. Pony porn.
See you next time, guys.